Let's go back to rents. This is pretty interesting. Tenants out in Vegas is typically a year. You keep bringing up month to month. Is majority of your tenants are all month to month?
None of my tenants are month to month.
Okay.
But here's how it works. When you find a owner of a property and they're in a place where they have mismanaged this property for years.
A lot of deferred maintenance, basically.
Deferred maintenance, but that's the other thing is they're not updating, but the properties aren't in bad shape.
Really?
Like, they're actually really clean.
Especially with the weather and the climate here, it doesn't really eat up the property.
Yeah, well, the thing, when they're mismanaging them, they still have them fix the major issues.
Okay.
So we're not talking, slumlord city here.
Yeah, okay.
When you go to these properties, like the roofs are bad, okay? You've got some of the units that need new flooring, new paint, the stuff I talk about, but the tenants are still in there paying rent and they're not leaving because their rent is so cheap.
Yeah.
What they've really done that has been poor management is they haven't kept the rents where they need to be.
Yeah.
And that is something where they still take pride in their property, though. They're older people. They probably bought these properties when they're brand new, so they still are willing to spend. And that's a funny thing. A lot of these people have a lot of money, so when the management company calls and says, hey, we need this fixed, we need that, they're like, yeah, do it. But they're not following up to see if they're raising rents.
Yeah.
So now you've got this property where the rents are extremely low, and you can come in and, crank those rents up by knowing what the market actually demands.
Management. Are you managing these properties yourself, or do you have a third party?
No, and I remember your question. Your question was, are you month to month?
Yeah.
The reason they are month to month is because they haven't ever raised rents. Mm-hmm. The tenant stays forever. So once their 1-year lease is up, because everyone signs a 1-year lease, then their management company isn't re-signing them. They're just saying, if you keep paying, you keep staying in the property. So that's why all of these older people have month-to-month leases, which is awesome for me because I come in month 1, I can say, hey, 30 days from now, rents are going to this. If you stay, they're going to this. If you leave for the new tenant, and they usually choose to stay, if they stay with us, they're signing a 1-year lease at those higher rents. And for us, every year when the lease runs up, we're raising our rents.
Yeah. One of the issues that I have here is when it goes to commercial financing, right? They want a trailing 12 or a trailing 24. Mm-hmm. Where I live, typically when it's 20 units and below, or maybe 30 units and below, a lot of these owners own the property for some time. It's been mismanaged, but they're also collecting cash, so that they have nothing on the books. Mm-hmm. So when we decide to go to financing, right, the underwriter's going to look at it and say, look, there's no money to be made. Do you ever run into those issues here? And if so, how do you get those deals? Are you just flipping it to owner financing it for 2 years, raising the rents, right, going back, then doing traditional financing?
I love this question. Yeah. Love it. And it's something that not a lot of people ask, but it's a great question. With my 32-plex, I went into the bank. The bank I had a long-term relationship with. Yeah. They looked at the numbers and they said, Chandler,
this is a deal.
No. They said, Chandler, this is a crap deal.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal.
They probably knew it was going to be a good deal, right?
That's the thing, is they've got a relationship with me.
Yeah.
They still questioned it. Because when I come in and say, hey guys, this property is worth double. Yeah. Double. Now, if I was buying it at what the market should have sold it for, I probably should have paid, 1.7-ish. Yeah. I'm buying it for 2.1. Yeah. Okay? So they're looking and saying, Chandler, what are you doing here, man? Like, we know you make a lot of money, but this is a crappy deal. I'm like, no. You're looking at the fact that rents are at $450. Yeah. At $450, it's a crappy deal. In their mind, they're thinking these are crap units. Yeah. We don't know that he can raise rents. Like, maybe he can raise rents $100, but there's no way he can raise them $400. That doesn't make sense because they didn't understand the market. So what I had to do is I had to say, guys, trust me. And this is what's nice about having a relationship with a credit union. But say, guys, trust me. The numbers work. Hear me out. We've got to push this through. I promise you this is going to be the best deal that you've helped anyone with on a loan. Like, it will be the best. And they still had hesitation. And so they were trying to bend me over a little bit on, and maybe I shouldn't use that phrase, but on rates, on terms, on all of that. Yeah. So I said, here's the deal. I will talk the owner into giving me ownership of 3 of the units and getting the rents up before we close.
Yeah.
But then you guys have to give me good rates and good terms.
Oh, that's pretty creative.
So I reach out to the owner, had to twist their arm and say, look, the bank isn't going to lend for purchase price. And again, now the owner is even more thinking, holy cow, I'm getting a killer deal on this. If the bank doesn't want to back it, like I sold it for way high, I'm in a great place. And it's true. They wouldn't have been able to sell it to anybody else because their numbers sucked so bad.
Yeah.
But I know this property's worth $3 million. They are hoping it's worth $2 million. The bank thinks it's 1.7. Yeah. And so I was able to raise those 3. I bring in, I show the leases. I say, guys, this is going to be every single unit. And they're like, all right, we'll do it. I negotiate with them super hard, end up getting great rates and great terms on the property. Close on it, and we're good to go. Now, that 32-plex, I then go and buy a 15-plex from the same owner.
Yeah.
A year later, I've got every one of the rents in this 32-plex up to $50 more than what I told the bank I was going to be able to do.
So let me go back. So he gave you 3 units. You were on title for 3 units, or
no.
you just went to and said, let me rehab
I'll let you rehab it, fill it, fix it, do whatever you need to do. Which is a gamble for me, right?
Yeah,
like I'm spending my money on a renovation.
You could have looked at it and said, hey, you know what? This is a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah. and technically, we put some things together so the deal couldn't blow up, right? We're like, we made sure we were good to go on the deal, and we don't need to dive into what we did there, but it still was sketch because I'm on a time frame. I'm trying to close in 30 days. I've got to get those tenants out, things fixed up, new tenants in.
You did all this in 30 days?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how did you still get the bank or the underwriter to say, hey, you know what, this does make sense. I'm willing to gamble. Because typically, banks, all they really care about is what we're going to make at the end of the day. Is this risk minimized and does it meet our requirements? And that was only done with 3 units.
Honestly, it's a relationship with the bank.
Is that what it is?
And here's the deal. I have people come to me all the time and say, Chandler, with your portfolio, with your setup, you could go to these people and you could be getting 1% lower on your interest rate and you could be fixing it for 25 years.
Yeah.
I know. But I can't push through the kind of deals I'm pushing through because I've got that niche where I find those deals that are extremely undervalued, but you're not going to sell a bank on, hey, we're going to double rents. Like, that doesn't make sense to them. Yeah. So having a relationship where they've got my deposits, they've got 15 other loans with me, they've got a relationship where it's like, oh, this really makes us uncomfortable, but we're going to do it. But here's the deal. After that deal, I never get asked questions again. And that's what I was going to tell you is I pull off the 32-plex. Next year, same owner sells me the 15-plex. I go in and say, hey guys, you know the game, but here are my rents on the 32-plex. You guys didn't believe me. Every single unit is filled at double. And now they're looking like, holy cow, that's the safest investment we've ever loaned on. And so we come back on this, the 32-plex. They were changing my rates every 5 years. I had a 3.85% interest rate. On the 15-plex, got my rates locked for 10 years and got the interest rate down to a 3.7.
So let's talk about locking in your rate and the terms, okay? Sometimes you could do a 3, 5, 7, 10, 15 year on commercial. How do you determine what's best for that acquisition?
So right now interest rates are extremely low, so I want to lock in for as long as I can. And that's why 4 units or less are the best because you can get a 30-year fixed, right? Yeah. That's free money.
Basically.
So for me, I wanted to lock them in at the lowest interest rate possible for the longest term. Those are extremely important to me. With that being said, you've got to take everything into consideration. You've got to look at your closing costs. You've got to look at your interest rates. Yeah. You've got to look at your down payment and how much they're requiring up front. You've got to look at the terms when the rates are changing, how long it's fixed, what the AM is. All of those things matter, and then you've got to figure out what your goals are for the property and make sure you pick whatever's going to be the best setup. Now, I want to negotiate all of those things. I want all of them as low as possible, but there are certain things that are more important to me than others. And I want to push in the places that matter the most to me. And for me, I want as long of an AM as possible. I want as low of a down payment as possible. I want as low of interest rates as possible. And I want it fixed for as long as I can.
Can you explain to all the viewers exactly what that is?
Yeah, so for properties, like a normal loan, you're looking at a 30-year fixed.
Correct.
That means your interest rate is locked in for 30 years. So you know exactly what your payment's going to be forever. When you get into commercial, they want to lock you in for 20 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they want a balloon payment at 10. That means you've got to find a way to either refinance or pay off the property in 10 years.
Yeah.
And so now you're in this situation where you don't have guaranteed financing forever. So you got to make sure the property's good, you're prepared to refinance, or you put yourself in a place where you can pay off the property. Never pay off a property.
Yeah.
But that's what you're up against on that. And the other thing is they then are wanting the rates changing. Yeah. So if I can push them to give me a 25-year AM, so that the loan is broken up over 25 years, if I can push the balloon payment to 15, if I can lock the rates for 10, that's way better than the rates changing every 5, because 5 years from now, who knows, interest rates might be back up at 5 or 6%, and now that kills a deal. And people don't understand it, but 1 to 2% interest, that's huge for purchasing a property. It gives you way more buying power because you're paying a lot less in your mortgage. And so a lot of people hold to, and this is what we were talking about earlier, they'll hold and say, yeah, I only buy an 8% cap rate. Yeah. And interest rates have dropped, 2%, 3% since the last deal they bought, and they're still holding to that cap. It's like, dude, you're an idiot. You don't understand how this works. If you're using leverage properly, like, you can buy a lower cap rate and get a higher return than you would have 3 years ago buying at the same cap.
Now, I want to talk about balloon payment. This is important. This is the issue that I always run into. Let's just say you do like a 5-year balloon. But let's just say the market does tank by 50%. Now they're going to go back and reevaluate that, right? Or you're going to have to go find another bank. That bank may not touch it because it doesn't underwrite, right?
Right.
Do you ever get worried about that? Like, how does that work?
I would if I didn't buy deals the way that I do. Right.
Great answer.
But for me,
does that make sense? Because sometimes it's kind of like a threshold on each market. And sometimes people take that chance, but do you ever think of that?
Yeah, so let me explain with this 32plex.
Yeah.
You brought up, the market drops 50%.
Yeah.
First off, that's never going to happen. It's not going to be that. Now, could it drop 25% and that would be the worst thing to ever happen? Yeah, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
But if I buy a property at $2 million and I add value so that it's worth $3 million and then it drops 30%, I'm still in the green.
Correct. Because you're at, like 2.1 million.
Yeah. So I'm in a situation where it doesn't matter because I've added so much value to the property and I'm just going to ride it out. But if I need to refinance because I have a balloon payment, I'm still going to be able to get financing for what I have. Now, not to mention the fact that I still have my down payment. I'm still building more equity with principal pay down. I built $1 million of equity just with value add. So I've got more than enough money in the property where if I needed to refinance, don't have to do anything. I can get great rates, great terms, move it over. I'm not needing to bring money to the table. I'm not in this stressful situation where it's like, oh, I can't afford the balloon. I can't get financing. A bank is still going to lend to me because even with a huge drop, I still have enough in the property where it makes sense for them as a deal.
And you're still cash flowing.
Exactly.
Now, are you afraid that rents may drop during a downturn?
Yeah,
because that's going to affect it too.
Yeah, you're always concerned, but again, all of these concerns are things that if you buy right, they're not concerns. Because if you're a guy,
say that again for the viewers.
All of these are concerns that if you buy right, they're not concerns.
There you go.
And this comes down to being smart with your reserves.
Yeah.
But when you buy right, let's look at the example you brought up earlier with cap rate. You've got a guy that buys at a lower cap rate, a lower cash-on-cash return. Let's say he's getting a 7%. If rents drop, he's only got 7% cash flow before he's now eating into, holy crap, I got to pay money to keep owning this property. When I've got a 15 to 20% cash-on-cash return, I got a lot of cash flow I can eat into, where you knock off my 10% return, it's okay, I'm still making 5% on cash flow in a terrible market. And guess what I'm doing? I'm going, hey, where are all those 6% people that are hurting right now? I'm ready to buy your property. And I'm going to buy it at a fat discount. And it's going to be another one of those properties that is going to make me a ton of money. And we're already in the lowest spot. So this property is about to explode in value. So those are the situations I get pumped about because everybody else, if they haven't bought right, they're stressing and they're thinking, oh, should I sell? I can still get my money out of it. And I'm thinking, yeah, sell to me.
Dude, I'm hyped up right now. I'm ready to go back to Vegas and buy something. I know I asked you this question about property management. Your properties. Do you have a property manager, or are you managing your properties yourself?
I have a property management company that does everything, and he is an absolute legend. I got very lucky, but I also put in a lot of time finding the right guy for the job. Mm-hmm. But he now knows how I do everything. So he knows where I'm tight when we do, renos on properties. Yeah. He knows all of the subs that I use. So all of that is extremely passive. This 15-plex, I haven't even been in a single renovation. Really? I was busy. I was in the middle of stuff. He's gone in, fixed up properties, raised rents, renovated, done all of that stuff, and I'm clueless to it.
Now, are you pretty anal when it comes to management? Like, are you managing the management company as far as if something comes up before he sends a contractor out there and he starts fixing things? Are you overseeing every little thing?
Early on, I was.
Okay.
Some people might even give me a hard time now because I have my couple key indicators that I look at, and that's it. Yeah. And it's like an hour a month worth of key indicators. They send me the reports. I see the money that goes into my bank, and I'll say, wow, we're performing great on all of these. Mm-hmm. I'm going to look at the expenses briefly. I'm going to look at the rent rolls briefly. I'm going to look at vacancy, make sure we're not hurting. But if I look and I see all of our units are filled, they're all filled at way higher rents, and we had, expenses within the range that I need, I'm happy. And yes, he's got full permission when he goes in and there's a property that needs new flooring and new paint to get it to where we need it to be. Yeah. I cut him loose because we've done it dozens of times, maybe even hundreds at this point. And, well, probably not hundreds, dozens of times we've gone through these renovations. So he knows exactly what my budget is, what I like, what I don't like, how I want to do them. And so we could call him right now and I'd be like, hey, in the last 6 months, how many renovations, how many flooring, how many paint, whatever, what all have we done? And he could tell me, and obviously I'm seeing that on the report. But if I look at the report and I say, we're cash flowing more than I expected, I go on about my day. I go in and move into my other things. My time is in creating, finding, purchasing deals.
Yeah. So are you looking at, or is he sending you a spreadsheet like every week, every month, and you're constantly looking at this and analyzing it? Or is this something like you kind of set it, forget it, he sends you a report every month?
Hour a month. One report a month if everything looks good. Now, sometimes I'll call him and I'll say, hey, these expenses looked high. Fill me in on what they were. Yeah. Right? Or we've got vacancy in this unit. What's going on? Or what's our situation? If there's something that I don't like, I'll call and get more detail on it. Mm-hmm. But the majority of the time I look at it and it's like, wow, we are killing it. I was hoping for a, $30,000 cash flow on this property, and we've got $40,000 this month. Our expenses must have been low. We're still keeping the reserves where they're at, but it's sick. Now, if someone has one property, they're going to manage it a little differently because they should be setting aside money for expenses. Mm-hmm. For me, I've got my reserves set aside, and we keep those filled up. And so when I have months that are just fat cash flow months, it's like, dude, that's my money, right? So it's nice. The more you scale, the less scary expenses become, because when you say 12% expenses, you've got to set money aside for when the roof goes out or the water heater or whatever else. When you've got 114 units, every month you've got a water heater going out somewhere, right? So that expense is going out and you're always hovering at that 12%. For me, though, I've come to find it's a lot lower than the 12%. And once we've had a lot of months where it's like, dude, 6% expenses every single month, in the summers I'll go walk properties and I'll say, all right, we don't have issues, we don't have leaks yet, but let's redo the yard on this one, let's redo the roof, let's do this. Things that my management company wouldn't decide to do because they are more than good enough to keep the property rented. But I'm like, let's add value, let's make this place look nice, let's take pride in it because we haven't spent the money that we had set aside to do for that.
Now that you are, buying commercial property, you're probably only touching anything that's 15 units and above because it makes sense. Is that correct?
A little bit. If I have a wholesaler come to me and say, Chandler, we've got this screaming deal on a single family home or a duplex or a fourplex, and I look at it for 5 minutes and I'm like, oh, that is a screaming deal. Okay, let's buy that, right? Okay. But am I making that my focus? Like, is that on my goal board? Is that what I'm looking for? No, that's one of those things where I know the market, I know the property. If it comes in, it's a killer deal. Heck yeah, I'm gonna buy it. Like that's another way to make money. But is my focus on finding something that's 20 units or more this year? 100%. That's where I'm investing my time. That's where I'm spending to find deals. That's what I'm doing. But I also have created these relationships where deal flow still comes in, and if it does, I'm gonna jump all over that. Now, I'm in a situation where I've got people that work for me and other YouTubers that are like, hey, throw me a deal. If I can afford to throw them a deal, I will. Right now, I haven't been able to because deal flow on those smaller units has really dried up for me.
Yeah.
Probably because I haven't made it my biggest focus. But
yeah.
when those come in, yes, someone is always going to buy it, whether it's me or I flip it's one of my people. I'm never going to shame somebody for buying what I would consider a crappy deal. Because
why would you?
Yeah, they're still making money. They're
yeah.
getting into it. They're learning from it.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather them have their money in a duplex that's paying them a 6% cash-on-cash return than in the bank or in the stock market where they don't know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's cool, but it's very competitive down there. So when I get a deal there that's off market, it's becoming more and more rare for it to meet my criteria.
Yeah.
I believe there's a sweet spot between 10 and 30 units, and the reason I believe this is a lot of these properties are mismanaged.
Okay.
So when you see a property on the MLS, yeah, like it's going to be a crappy deal, and a lot of people have worked up to where they've got money. They don't have a team. They're just trying to buy an investment property. Same thing. They look at it and they're like, hey, I'll pay this for it. The market demands it. A lot of those people might even buy something, and usually not, because if it's on the MLS, they're going to get market. Like the market is going to say, no, it's worth this. But a lot of those people still, they'll buy it at what the market is, and they won't raise rents for what they should be.
Yeah.
So there's, yes, on the MLS with where rents are at, a lot of those deals don't make sense. But if you know what you're doing and you can find an off-market deal where the owner doesn't know what the property's worth, the rents are low, they think they're getting a great deal on it, and they are for what the rents are at, those are the properties you can go in and add value. And the reason I like that space is when you get hired, owner and seller are both very smart.
Yeah.
Right? If you're dealing with 100 units plus, it's not like the owners to be like, oh, I'm mismanaging this. Usually they've paid a management company that is like on it.
Yeah.
And they've got rents to a good place. And so now you're having to bend on price to make it make sense for both parties, but you're dealing with two smart parties. The biggest point I would say to take home from this, there's no bad niche.
Yeah.
You can find under market properties in all of these. You can still find people that are willing to sell for way less than they should on a 300 unit complex. Like that still happens. I just think it's harder to find those and to make them happen. And that's why my sweet spot is, I'd say probably 10 to 100 units. You have different pain points in every area.
Yeah.
And so you just got to
that.
figure out your niche and figure out how to work it. When big investors hear me say this and, it's harder to find under market or it's harder to find value add properties, I'm sure they're laughing saying, dude, I bought 500 units. I'm Mr. Billionaire. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, they've got a team. I'm sure they're killing it, right? But I'm sure the seller is also more aware of what they're dealing with, and that transaction has to work. I'm not at that level, so this niche makes a lot of sense because I can find incredible deals where I can add huge value.
Let's talk about demographics. Do you look at demographics, income level? Do you use that as far as like your equation on analyzing a deal?
Yes. I want to buy, and I always tell people I'm like a B- C+ kind of guy.
Okay.
Right? So I don't like slumming it. I don't like trash. I don't like drug dealers. I don't like all of that stuff. But I like to find units where people are smart, they're educated, they're at a point in life where they're going places, they'd like to own a home, they'd like to get out of apartments, but their job has put them in a place where they're super frugal and they're trying to find a good place to live that gives them space.
Let's talk about materials. Is there certain materials that you do use when it comes to rental properties? And what?
So the flooring, it's they've got a bunch of different names for it. It's just the tile flooring, LVT or whatever they call it. It is something that clips together, sticks down, can take anything, right? And you can beat the heck out of this. It's what I've got in my own house here. It was there when we bought it. I mean, I've had my kids chuck stuff off the cabinets, like they're racing their cars around, they're doing all kinds of stuff. Nothing shows. So for an investment property, you can spill stuff, you can get moisture, you can get anything. This stuff's going to handle everything, so you're not having to continue to replace it, and it still looks nice.
Yeah.
So that's super important for flooring. That's probably the biggest way that you can save money and keep your place looking good is flooring. And so flooring looks good, the walls are clean, freshly painted, and the cabinets are decent, and then you've got, a clean, good-looking toilet that works, and the whole property, the bedrooms, everything else, that's all it is, right?
Yeah.
You could even keep your old light fixtures, which I've started to change light fixtures because I do think that adds a flair that people like. But a lot of times people don't even see that. They go in, it's well lit, they're pumped on it.